I just knew that inside of Superman was the potential to kind of, be slightly transcendent as a superhero movie, talk to us about who we are as people and things of that nature. I know that sounds like heady, but I think that he, being the sort of ultimate representation of the mythology of comic books in modern culture, that there's something in that,
Characters comprise the heart and soul of our narrative culture, and their struggles, wants, desires, and ultimately transformation constitute the emotional core of any story. But what happens when the focal point of your story is a character without any traditional flaws? See, when looking at the character of Superman, a figure of mythic tradition with an ever-compounding list of insuperable powers and the moral complexity of a Boy Scout, a unique question comes to mind. How do you write a god? And in Superman 2025 and Man of Steel before it, we find an answer to this question. At least, part of one. Superman has been a crucial part of the cultural zeitgeist for a long time. The original Superman comic debuted back in 1938, and since then, he's become quite the mythic figure. Because this character represents so much more than a simple story. He is a beacon of hope, an arbiter of justice, and a defender of truth. In a phrase, he illuminates America's cultural values and illustrates how these values can affect the whole world. Mark Waid, author of Superman Birthright, said this about the character. The hardest part about writing Superman is that he's not just a superhero. He's a symbol. You have to make him relatable without diminishing his mythic quality. If he's too perfect, he's boring. If he's too flawed, he's not Superman. So whether you were a citizen of the fictional metropolis, or simply live vicariously through the various movies, comic books, and television shows, Superman is, to all of us, a god. And in the superhero arms race that has defined the last 20 years of cinematic storytelling, Warner Brothers has produced two distinct versions of this character. The one from Man of Steel, and the one from Superman. So what exactly do these films say about Superman's deity? And how do their creators write a god? One of the most common criticisms I hear about Zach Snyder's Man of Steel is that the film is too dark, both literally and thematically. And while Zack Snyder is known for his intense films and even odd interpretations of comic books...
So Batman Can't Kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens.
Other than the color grading, this film is nothing but right. A fantastical adaptation of the philosophy of nobility that Superman embodies, and one that embraces his godhood at every turn. In fact, these themes are even further developed as the series goes on. But in Man of Steel, we get to witness the messianic origin of Superman. Man of Steel starts not on Earth, but on Krypton, with Jor-El, Superman's father, playing the role of the protagonist as he watches not only the destruction of his planet, but of its government and its entire morality system. And as this chaos ensues, we find out two important details. That Jor-El was once the friend and partner of General Zod, the military commander who is currently taking martial control of Krypton, and that Jor-El has a son, a natural-born son.
We've had a child, Zod. A boy child. Krypton's first natural birth in centuries.
While it initially seems irrelevant, the prologue foreshadows the entire central conflict of the film. The prologue and the main story have the same moral quandary, and even have the same villain to ask it.
Every action I take, no matter how violent or how cruel, is for the greater good.
Do the ends justify the means? Can one small act of immorality build a better world? Or will this singular act of evil bring about inevitable destruction? And so Superman, the only Kryptonian to escape his dying planet, is sent to Earth, where he is to bring about redemption in the light of Krypton's failure. His mission is to atone, not simply to survive. And as Kal-El, now Clark Kent, begins to grow up, he begins to run into the same moral issues in his own life.
I just wanted to help.
I know you did, but we talked about this. Right? Right? We talked about this. You have... Oh, Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe. There's more at stake here than just our lives, Clark, or the lives of those around us.
It's important to note that even Jonathan Kent, his human father, the man who raised him from infancy, struggles with fear. He's human, and in accordance with his flawed human nature, he encourages Clark to embrace this consequentialism, the same consequentialism that destroyed Krypton, or at least a version of it. He fears that if Clark reveals himself, he will irreversibly change mankind and perhaps even the structure of society itself. And he's willing to die rather than risk his son's life. While I still have major issues with the reasoning behind this death scene, the meaning behind it is clear. Jonathan Kent died for his son. To prevent him from discovery and to earn him just a few more years of secrecy. He does not fully surrender to his fears, however. He encourages Clark to bide his time, not to hide from the limelight forever. So when Superman finally dons his iconic suit, when he emerges with his chest emblazoned with the L family crest, this choice means something. It represents Clark's acceptance of his past and of the future it warrants. It represents his acceptance of godhood. And his eventual conflict with General Zod cements this acceptance of moral duty. In the second half of the film, we discover that General Zod has survived and has come to Earth for Kal-El, not exactly to seek revenge, but to retrieve the codex that his father sent with him, the literal future of Krypton. He does not wish to fight Superman, but to be joined by him, to work together with Kal-El just as he'd wanted to work with his father, to build a new Krypton. Zod's plan highlights his amorality, obviously molded by the tenets of Kryptonian society, and he offers Superman the opportunity to rule over mankind, rather than guard or protect it. To further complicate things, Zod greets Superman with a warmer welcome than really anyone on Earth ever has. For the majority of the film, all the people of Earth treat Superman just like Zod, another alien and another enemy. And once again, this motif of human fear continues on throughout the rest of the series.
I figured out way back. If God is all-powerful, he cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all-powerful. And neither can you be.
Yet in the face of this, Superman rejects Zod and Krypton. He chooses the immediate good, regardless of the potential consequences. He chooses to believe that the ends cannot justify the means. And at the end of the film, he kills General Zod. Now, this scene is often criticized, but this action represents more than the sacrifice of his no-killing policy. It is a final and forced rejection of his people and their archaic philosophy. It is the execution of the final remaining member of his race.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good.
Clark,
That's what you can bring them.
you were sent here for a reason.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will join you in the sun, Cal.
The choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
You will help them accomplish wonders.
With this act, Superman cements the fate he has chosen for himself. To be the best of both worlds, to teach Earth the failures of Krypton, and in so doing, build a better future for all. In the end, Man of Steel is not a perfect film. And while Henry Cavill proves he can play a great Superman, especially in later installments, this story fails to demonstrate his character. It is, ultimately, a film that explores two different moral philosophies, and shows the values that the character of Superman upholds, but fails to show his reasons for upholding them, the internal drive that would manifest with such external actions. In trying to embrace this sense of godliness, Man of Steel makes Superman the moral ideal, a benevolent god too distant to effectively engage with the audience. However, Superman 2025 went in the opposite direction, and instead of making him godly, they made him entirely human. From the first few seconds of James Gunn's Superman, it's clear that this is a different take on the character. Superman is one among many, a new superhero in a world that has been exposed to them for 3 centuries. And Superman, while powerful, is just another metahuman. And this fact says a lot about this new version of Superman. While his moral compass may be unique, his powers are not. And this results in the reaction to him, to the existence of a being such as Superman, being decidedly less divine. Clark is human. He has a human girlfriend, human parents, and a human life. And his interview/argument with Lois Lane proves this.
Replacing one tyrannical regime with another.
Is that really how you feel?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman, but I question it. Yeah, I would question myself in the same situation and hold off a beat, consider the consequences.
People were going to die!
This scene almost directly mirrors the scene between Clark and his father in Man of Steel, the conflict of morality versus human consequentialism. But in this scene, it's not resolved. Instead, Lois is left to wonder at this seemingly naive dedication to the ultimate good at all costs. She does not hate it, but she does not understand it either. It's the perfect introduction of his character, and this version of Superman. He's raw, caring, at times a bit childish.
Hashtag super spy, hashtag super shit.
Super shit? Come on, Lois, you know that one specifically irritates
This is
me.
on the record, Clark!
But most importantly, human. And the antagonist of this film, Lex Luthor, loathes him for it. While convoluted in their connections, all of the conflicts of this film lead back to Lex Luthor. His goal is not simply power, money, or even half of a country. He wants to kill Superman, to prove to himself and the world that Superman is in fact an alien and has no place on Earth. That the worship of an all-powerful being with the moral character of a Boy Scout is entirely undeserved. Here, the villain is a human, intent on proving the evil of such a deific figure, while ignoring his humanity.
Galileo or Einstein or one of these other twits in the same breath as me, I feel a tide of vomit burn the back of my throat. But at least Galileo did something. He wasn't some dopey Venusian catapulted onto this planet just to have the world fawn over him, because his strength illuminates how weak we all really are.
Whereas Zod was intent on convincing Superman to embrace his godhood and reject his humanity altogether. But in this film, Superman does not reject his humanity. He accepts it above all else.
I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
The emerging thesis of this film is clear.
You trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is, like,
beautiful.
Maybe that's the real punk rock.
And this moment, this scene, this concept, is one of the most powerful of the entire film. It highlights Superman's strength, which is not simply his power, but his strength of character. Something not from Krypton or his heritage, but chosen by him. And this is further highlighted by the reveal about his parents. See, in this version of Superman, his Kryptonian parents did not send him on a benevolent mission to save the Earth. They sent him to rule it.
We have searched the universe for a home where you can do the most good and live out Krypton's truth.
That place is Earth. People there are simple and profoundly confused. Weak of mind and spirit and body. Lord over the planet as the last son of Krypton.
To make a slave of its people, and in so doing, keep the future of Krypton alive. They essentially play the same role that Zod did in Man of Steel. And while this change may seem insignificant, it cements this version of the character. James Gunn has never been a fan of gods. In fact, throughout his films, the megalomaniacal, tyrannical god figure pops up quite often, whether it be in Guardians 2.
That's the mortal in you, Peter.
Yes.
We are beyond such things.
Yes.
Guardians 3.
You think you have some worth in and of yourself without me? No! You're an abomination!
Or even Brightburn, the film about an actual evil Superman, which he produced.
Don't, I'm sorry.
So it's no surprise that this is the approach he also took with Superman. And the result is that this Superman story no longer focuses on his quasi-divine aspects and the sort of noble calling that comes with them. Superman is not an alien. And in the final analysis, he rejects his Kryptonian heritage completely. Not just to save humanity, but because he is more human than anything else. So, how do you write a god? Man of Steel chooses to focus entirely on his godhood, and in doing so, forgets Clark's humanity. And in Superman 2025, his godhood is cast entirely aside to show his humanity, and both approaches seem to fall short of the main task. To fully embrace the character of Superman, to embrace the dichotomy that makes his character what it is. In Man of Steel, he's too distant, and in Superman, he's just a bit too goofy. More like a lovable golden retriever boy scout than this noble heroic figure. The issue with Superman is that he isn't human. And no matter how much we try, we cannot and should not understand him. That's the point. He's the direct response to the concept that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And whether realistic or not, he's the figure that gives us hope in the face of such nihilism. And it's the never-ending human desire for hope that has ultimately made the Superman character as timeless as he is. A manifestation of our yearning for the divine. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because as frustratingly imperfect as much of modern storytelling might be, it seems there's a new wave on the horizon. From the most unexpected of places.
Sit down for the show, 'cause I'm gonna show you how it's done.
But as always, no matter what you do, keep reading, keep writing, and I will see you all in the next video.